Hey, my name is Ben Freer, and on this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to answer this question for yourself. The question is, what documents are required for the E-2 visa? The E-2 visa is a great option for entrepreneurs who want to start a business in the United States. Understandably, people who are interested in this option have a lot of questions about the requirements, and they want to know what type of documentation is going to be needed to actually obtain the visa. So I'm going to cover that today. But here is something that you need to know. Unfortunately, the required documentation is going to change depending on where and how you are applying. Now, obviously this is super annoying, but unfortunately, that is the way it works. For example, if you are applying for a change of status from within the United States, you are going to file Form I-129. If you are going to file through your home consulate or embassy abroad, which I recommend by the way, then you will file different forms. You will file Form DS-160 and DS-156E. And to make matters worse, there are particular requirements that relate to each particular embassy or consulate. So the question becomes, well, how in the world do I figure out what documentation I need to present? So I'm going to give you some tips on that. If you are applying through the Department of State, meaning you're submitting your application and you eventually will go to an interview at the consulate or embassy abroad, if you're doing that, then I recommend that you first go to the consulate or embassy's website and pull up the page that relates to the E-2 visa. When you do that, you will often find a list of required documentation for the E-2 visa. This is super helpful. So here's an example of what you're going to see when you go to the consulate or embassy's website. This is the site for the U.S. consulate in Toronto. And if you go to their page, you'll see that they provide really helpful information showing what they are looking for in a new E-2 visa application. It lists all the documentation. Now, obviously that is great, but unfortunately not all the consulates or embassies are as helpful as the consulate in Toronto. The question then becomes, well, what if my home consulate doesn't actually list the required documentation? Then how do I find out what is actually required? If that is your situation, I would recommend that you go to the Foreign Affairs Manual section that talks about e-visas. When you pull up the Foreign Affairs Manual page that covers e-visas, you'll find a lot of good information about the requirements. And since you're interested in the E-2 visa, you can ignore all the information that relates to the E-1 and the E-3 and just go ahead and scroll to the bottom of the page. When you do that, you will find a sample list of documentation. Now, obviously, it would be super boring for you to listen to me talk about all the different types of documentation that you may need to present in your E-2 application. You can easily find this information on your own by either going to the Foreign Affairs Manual or going to the website that is maintained by the consulate or embassy through which you will apply. But before I go, I want to give you the bigger picture. So I'm going to give you a summary of what you are trying to prove with your documentation. First of all, the E-2 visa isn't available to everybody in the world. Your country of nationality has to have a relevant treaty with the United States in order for you to benefit from the E-2 visa. And some of the documents that you present are going to demonstrate that you are in fact a national of a country that has an E-2 treaty with the United States. An example of this type of documentation would be your passport. Other documents are intended to show where your money came from. This type of documentation could include tax returns, property sale documentation, bank records showing transfer of the funds. Other documentation will be used to show that your business is operating and that your investment is at risk. This can include formation documents such as LLC registration or operating agreements. You can also present invoices, licenses, utility bills, bank statements, sales agreements, marketing materials, or other things that show that your business is operating. Some documentation will be used to show that your business is not marginal. A marginal business is one that will only provide support for yourself and your family. To prove that your business is not marginal, you would provide a business plan with personnel projections for the next 5 years. If you have existing employees, you will provide a payroll summary. You will provide 1099s and W-2s. In order to show that you're in a position to direct and develop the business, you'll probably present a resume and a summary of your professional accomplishments in the business plan. In order to qualify for the E-2 visa, you must have the intent to return to your home country after the expiration of your E status. So in order to show this, you will probably present a letter or a statement indicating your intent to return, and you may supplement that information with bank statements or property records in your home country. And last but not least, you will present a cover letter that explains in details how you meet the requirements of the E-2 visa. This cover letter, along with the business plan, sort of serves to tie the entire application together and show the US government official why E-2 status is appropriate for you. So there you have it. That's a broad overview of the documents that are required for the E-2 visa. Now, that summary that I just provided is not an all-inclusive list. Like I mentioned, the documentations required in your particular case is going to vary depending on your situation. If you are interested in the E-2 visa, please reach out to one of the many amazing U.S. immigration lawyers that you can find across the globe. They can give you helpful guidance that is tailored to your unique situation. I hope this information was helpful. If you did enjoy this video, please like it or pass it along to someone who could benefit from it. Thank you for your time.